Hi, I'm Gabriel, and this is Learning English Path. And in this lesson, I'm going to teach you the difference between a city, a town, and a village. So many people have asked me, what is the difference between a city and a town? What's the number, right? How many people have to live there before we say it's a city? And people have also asked me, what's the difference between a village and a town, right? How big does it have to be? And I understand the confusion because even some native speakers, actually a lot of native speakers, don't quite understand when those places can evolve, right? To become the next, to go up to the next stage, so to speak. So, before I tell you those differences, please subscribe to this channel and give it a like if you learned something in this video. And leave a comment if you can tell me whether you live in a city or a town or a village. All right, tell me where you are in the world and tell me whether it's a city, a town, or a village. I would really love to know. I'm interested, okay? I want to know where my students are from. So please do that. And if you want to learn English with songs, then get my free PDF where you get 101 songs to learn English with. And it has a ton of exercises that you can really use to take your English to the next level, and you get that for free. Okay, link is in the description. So usually, I think most people know that usually the city is the largest, the town is it has fewer people than a city, and a village has even fewer people than a town, right? Most people kind of understand that. But that's not always the case. Let's begin with the UK, okay? Because the thing is, it really depends where you are in the world as to what the definition of a city or a town or a village will be. All right? So there's almost always a certain answer, whether a place is either a city, a town, or a village, but it depends on the country that you're in as to which one it will be, okay? So, for example, in the UK, we have a city called St. David's, which has less than 2,000 people in it, okay? It has, it's a very small place, and there's not a big shopping center or something, right? It has really fewer than 2,000 people in it. But the largest town is Bournemouth, and that has 500,000 people. So there goes the idea about a town being smaller than a city always, right? You can't always go on that. So the UK has some unique rules, all right? And that is that the place has to apply to the monarch being the Queen of England at this time, right? Queen Elizabeth II right now. So, if a place even if it's got 2,000 people only, if they want to be considered a city, they can apply to the Queen. Now, these days, there are official competitions once every 10 years or so to try to become the new city in the UK. Right now, there are 69 cities in the UK. All right? 69. And about every 10 years, they reconsider which towns should be elevated to become a city. So, in the UK, there's a different process, all right? And a lot of people think that a place has to have a cathedral in order to be considered a city in the UK, though that's not true. That's just a myth. That's something that people believe that there is. It's not a fact. Okay, it has to simply be allowed by the Queen based on population and unique character of a city and its contents, what's in the city, how much of how many services are there available, right? All of that kind of stuff. So that's the UK. But in the USA, a city is a place that has its own government and its own, it manages its own resources and it delegates properly, right? Has its own services. And the residents in a city in the USA elect their own government officials, okay? But in a town in the USA, they do not. They do not elect their own governmental officials, right? It's just them. And they get services by the government, okay? The governments that are closest to them can help them out, right? The state that they're in will help them out, but they don't manage their own resources and they don't have their own government, all right? But cities do. So that's the difference in the USA. Now, other places around the world are often considered by how many people there are in a certain in a place that is usually considered one collective, all right? So, for example, in Sweden and Denmark, you only need 200 people to be considered a city, all right? But in Japan, you need 30,000 people to be considered a city. Now, when we look at that comparison, seems like Japan, you need a lot of people. But if you think about, remember, Bournemouth in England has 500,000 people, around approximately 500,000 people, and they are a town. Well, it's not so many for Japan to require 30,000 people, right? All right, so it really depends where you are. So again, a city will have several thousand people usually. A town, generally speaking, around the world in other countries, generally speaking, will have between 1,000 and 20,000 people. Okay? Again, depends where you are. And a village is usually in a rural area, and it has fewer than 1,000 people in it, okay? So, what's the difference between rural and urban? Urban is a city-like area where you have lots of shops, lots of services, lots of people packed in one area is usually considered an urban area. But a place like the countryside, this is rural. Okay, rural, rural, and a village is usually in a rural area. All right, and it doesn't have many people, less than 1,000 people. So, with that understanding, if you want to know whether the place you live in is a city, a town, or a village, you need to know what the rules are for your country, okay? And it might not be so obvious, but I still want to know whether you live in a city, a town, or a village. All right? All right. I hope this makes it a little bit clearer for you, and it's not just too confusing. All right? Please subscribe, leave a comment, and keep learning, my friend, and keep going.